Attention passionate Atlanta, Falcons fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC South and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Atlanta Falcons' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Atlanta Falcons fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Atlanta, FALCONS FANS. Let's get to the news. Alright folks, today we're diving into a story that's been buzzing around NFL circles, a rumor that could turn out to be a game changer for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I know what you're thinking. Christian Kirk just got traded to the Houston Texans, right? Well, hold on, because what I'm about to tell you isn't about what's happened, but what could happen? And trust me, it's enough to get any Falcons fan excited. We're talking about a potential trade scenario that would see Kirk in the red and black, and honestly, that could be a massive boost for this team's Super Bowl ambitions. So, let's break down why this hypothetical pairing makes so much sense, what it could mean for the Falcons, and how it might shake up the NFC South. First of all, for those who follow NFL trade rumors and offseason moves closely, you know that sometimes it's not just about what happens on the field during the season, but also about strategic moves in the offseason that set the tone for the entire year. Christian Kirk, coming from the Jacksonville Jaguars, has proven himself as a versatile and dynamic receiver, especially in the slot. In 2024, he was mostly sidelined due to injury, but before that, in the 2023 season, he posted some solid numbers with 787 receiving yards in just 12 games. And let's not forget, the last time we saw him fully healthy in 2022, he went over 100 yards. Those are numbers that any NFL team would love to have, and for the Falcons, he could be exactly what they need, an explosive slot receiver to complement Drake London and Darnell Mooney. Now, you might be asking, why would the Texans trade Kirk? Well, the situation with Houston's wide receiver core is interesting. They've got Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins, and Jalen Noel, along with John Mechie and Tank Dell. It's a pretty deep group, and when you look at how the Texans drafted this year, Higgins and Noel, they seem to be set at the position. So, trading Kirk, especially after acquiring him for just a 7th-round pick, makes strategic sense for Houston. They're essentially re-rolling that 7th-round pick to free up some roster space and perhaps focus on their young talent. It's a move that's more about clearing cap space and roster spots than about the player himself, who's talented but maybe no longer fits their long-term plans. But here's where things get really interesting for the Falcons. Imagine if Atlanta, which traded up for James Pierce Jr., and found themselves a bit short on draft picks, could make a move for Kirk. The Falcons are still a team in transition, trying to find that perfect mix of youth and experience, and frankly, they need a reliable slot receiver to help out Michael Penix Jr. If you look at their current wide receiver depth chart, Drake London and Darnell Mooney are solid options, but after that, it gets pretty murky. Ray McCloud, for example, has struggled to make a significant impact, with only a single season over 300 yards, which was in 2024. It's clear that the Falcons need an upgrade in that slot position, and Kirk fits that bill perfectly. In fact, Kirk has been predominantly a slot receiver throughout his career. In 2024, he ran nearly 82% of his routes from the slot, and in 2023, that number was over 71%, according to PFF. That's his bread and butter, that quick, reliable target in the middle of the field, someone who can stretch defenses and create separation. For the Falcons, adding Kirk wouldn't just fill a need, it would elevate the entire passing game. Especially with Penix's ability to throw accurate, deep passes, having a reliable, experienced slot receiver like Kirk would open up even more options in the passing attack. And let's not forget the context of the Falcons' draft last year. They used their first-round pick on Michael Penix Jr., a quarterback with huge upside, a guy who flashed in limited action last season and looks like the real deal. But to truly maximize his potential, Atlanta needs to surround him with weapons, players who can make plays consistently. Kirk, with his route-running ability and experience, could be that perfect weapon that takes the offense to the next level. Think about how dangerous this offense could be with London stretching the field, Mooney providing a deep threat, and Kirk operating in the slot, all under Penix's leadership. It's a recipe for a potent, high-powered offense that could push Atlanta into playoff contention and maybe even challenge the top teams in the NFC. Now here's where the trade makes even more sense from a strategic standpoint. The Falcons currently hold a 7th-round pick for next year's draft. Trading that pick for Kirk would be a low-cost investment for a player who could have a significant impact. Considering Kirk's production when healthy, it's not far-fetched to think he could replicate or surpass his 2022 numbers. Over 100 yards receiving. That kind of production from a third wide receiver would make a huge difference for Atlanta, especially as they look to make a playoff push in 2025. The NFC South is still wide open, with teams like the Buccaneers, Panthers, and Saints all trying to rebuild and find their footing. The Falcons, with a few smart moves, could position themselves as serious contenders. And let's remember, the NFL offseason is all about making strategic moves. Sometimes, it's about trading away a late-round pick to acquire a player who can make an immediate impact. The Falcons have shown they're willing to be aggressive, trading up for Pierce Jr., bringing in experienced players like Darnell Mooney, and now, adding Christian Kirk could be the next step in their evolution. With Kirk's experience, route running, and ability to perform in clutch moments, he could be a key piece of this Falcons puzzle. Of course, all of this is speculative at this point, but the signs point to a very interesting possibility. The Texans might have done their part in acquiring Kirk for a song, but the real question is whether Atlanta should make a move. Given their current roster needs, draft limitations, and the potential upside Kirk offers, it's a move that makes a ton of sense. It's a low-risk, high-reward scenario that could pay dividends on the field and push the Falcons closer to their Super Bowl aspirations. Now, it's important to keep in mind that no official trade has been announced, but the rumors and analysis point to a very intriguing possibility. The Falcons are in a position where they could absolutely benefit from adding a player like Kirk, especially as they look to build around Penix and surround him with proven playmakers. It's a move that could define the trajectory of their 2025 season, helping them to punch through that playoff barrier and maybe even make some noise in the postseason. And with that, we come to the end of this deep dive into what could be one of the most exciting offseason stories for the Falcons. Remember, folks, the NFL offseason is full of surprises, and sometimes the most unexpected moves turn out to be the ones that change everything. Whether or not the Falcons decide to pursue Christian Kirk, one thing is clear: they're building something special, and the potential addition of a player like him could be the final piece that takes them over the top. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Atlanta Falcons news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. And now, Atlanta Falcons fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Do you think the Falcons should make a move for Christian Kirk? Would he be the perfect weapon to complement Penix and the rest of the offense? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Falcons. This offseason is shaping up to be a roller coaster, and your insights help keep the conversation alive. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, rumors, and analysis, so stay tuned for the latest Atlanta Falcons news. We're in this together, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for this team. Let's keep the passion alive, and remember, this is just the beginning of what could be an incredible era for the Atlanta Falcons. Thanks for tuning in, as always, and see you very soon with more inside scoop on your team.